What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Cinema Lovers Incorporated back at you again with another video, and I am having a fantastic Friday. Hope you guys are having the same. But today we're doing a different kind of video. We're shaking things up a bit, trying to make unique content on the channel. Today I am ranting on a personal favorite of mine, a fan favorite. I'm gonna get a lot of hatred for this. Jurassic Park. Now, don't dislike the video just yet. Let me clear everything up. I freaking love Jurassic Park and The Lost World. These two films I hold very dearly to my heart. They're directed by my personal favorite director of all time, Steven Spielberg. But there's a lot of fanboys that just look at Jurassic Park and they think it's a flawless film. However, in my opinion, the movie in some aspects is very flawed. And I want to jump into that today to talk about my gripes with the film, some issues I have with the movie. Now, don't get me wrong, this movie is fantastic. It's 100 times better than any crap you see today on cinema. It's one of the first ever movies that introduced CGI. The CGI is groundbreaking and revolutionary. Well, for the time, I'm going to get into that later. But Jurassic Park all around is a jaw-dropping movie, but like I said, it isn't perfect. So let's get into the things that I don't really like about Jurassic Park that a few others, well, a lot of others probably do like. Alright, don't get mad. Laura Dern. I cannot stand Laura Dern, Ellie Sattler in Jurassic Park. She makes horrible jokes. Her writing is a little bit too corny for me. She's just there to be Dr. Grant's love interest. She's a paleobotanist, I'm pretty sure. She studies plants, and that's interesting, but her character whining and yelling the S word is, is a bit corny, and just I'm not interested in her character. Her running from the raptors, screaming at the top of her lungs. I get it, a normal person would do that, but Laura Dern just doesn't play it off very well in my personal opinion. Now, a lot of others love Ellie Sattler in Jurassic Park, but personally, I'm not a big fan of her, nor am I a fan of Laura Dern myself, especially after watching The Last Jedi. But Laura Dern in this film, she's not doing it for me, and personally, I'm not a big fan of her. Another gripe I have with the film is two other characters in the movie, Lex and Tim. Now, before you shoot up my house, let me make this clear. Lex and Tim are not the worst themes in Jurassic Park. It's just Tim's horrible comedy that makes it cringeworthy. Now, I get that they're children living in a world where dinosaurs are walking around, and you have to broaden the mood and make everything a little bit happier and sunnier. But Tim is just, oh my god, Tim, his writing is so bad. He's just, the jokes he tells, the things he says, even Lex. I mean, both of these characters, them together, it just makes me cringe when they have the light on inside of the Jeep when the T-Rex comes. I get they don't really understand about the T-Rex, but what was her idea? What was she planning to do? Was she trying to lure the T-Rex away from Dr. Grant over to her? It just doesn't feel like it's in their character. They're two kids. They're scared. They're not selfless. So that's my problem. That's my gripe with the two children. They're not horrible, but they're just not good either. They make some really bad jokes, and their writing, it's just not my cup of tea. Now, a lot of people most likely disagree with me here, but Lex and Tim, personally, I'm not a big fan of these two kids. Now, the next thing I'm going to say is going to make a lot of people mad. The Velociraptors and CGI in general. Now, don't get me wrong. I know I say this a lot. I say don't get me wrong a lot. The T-Rex CGI and the Velociraptor CGI when it's present is stunning and well done. But the rest of the CGI, the computer-generated imagery in the film, is a bit dated, and I'm tired of people always constantly saying it holds up, it holds up. It doesn't really hold up. If you look at the Brachiosaurus, his foot, you can see that his foot is, in a way, floating on the surface. It's just not that impressive anymore. Don't get me wrong, it looks good, and the dinosaurs, I feel like, are there, but you have to just agree with me on this. The CGI does look very fakey, a little floaty, and the textures just are not there like they used to be. So that is my issue. And another big problem is the Velociraptor. Now, the Velociraptors are one of my favorite dinosaurs, and in the Lost World, they do Velociraptors way better. I hate how people talk about the Lost World being a dumbed-down version of Jurassic Park. I feel like Lost World does the CGI better and handles some of these dinosaurs in a better manner. For example, the raptors in the Lost World are stunning. They have practical effects and CGI that blend in just seamlessly. However, in Jurassic Park, the raptors, I felt like the CGI just wasn't there at the time to bring these dinosaurs to life. So they had the raptors they had people in suits, and they had, when the raptors were charging at Timmy sometimes, it looked kind of fakey where they're just like coming out, and they're clawing at the gate. It just looks a little bit, just not doing it for me. It looks fake sometimes. Now, don't get me wrong. I love practical effects more than CGI. I adore practical effects over CGI. It's just the raptor practical effects, the animatronics in a few scenes looked a little bit motionless and just stale in my personal opinion. They could have been a lot better with CGI. For example, in The Lost World, the CGI is way better for the Velociraptors than it is in Jurassic Park. And I hate how people always disagree. The Lost World is worse, the CGI is not as good. In my opinion, The Lost World, the CGI is better, alright? Don't get me wrong, you little fanboys. Jurassic Park has stunning, groundbreaking, state-of-the-art CGI, but The Lost World does it better, in my personal opinion. Maybe in not some aspects, but for the Velociraptors, CGI is better, and it's just done better in the darkness and the lighting. The lighting just makes the animatronics and the CGI pop. Another gripe I have with Jurassic Park is the writing, where some of the jokes. I believe in one part Dr. Grant says that Tim is a human piece of toast. What? I don't really understand. That's kind of weird. And then the part where they're watching the T-Rex kill the Gallimimus, all of that writing just feels like it doesn't feel right. And it's not because of all of these writers to do with the movie. Well, David Coop has a lot to do with the film. It's also Steven Spielberg. Steven Spielberg directs people in really odd fashions. And the writing is good, but then the writing is bad. It's not perfect like people are trying to say. For example, Mr. Hammond, we're back in business. And then the raptor comes crashing through. More cringeworthy than awesome. And I think it would have been handled better, again, if Laura Dern was not in that scene. The writing, like I said, not perfect, not flawless like some of these people say that Jurassic Park is one of the most flawless films in the world. It's a very flawed movie. Now, one last gripe I have with the movie. When the film gets to the tree part / the part where they drive away with Dr. Malcolm, after they drive away with a wounded Dr. Malcolm, I feel like the film takes a nosedive in quality. Up until that point, the movie had a clear premise. It was trying to awe you and bring you in with the wonder of dinosaurs. And then you go for a horror approach with the amazing T-Rex scene where the T-Rex knocks the Jeep off the cliff. After that, however, I feel like the film takes a nosedive where it just puts you in a moment with dinosaurs and spectacle. Then it takes you out of the moment, brings you into a magical scene where it's supposed to awe you, inspire you, pulls you out of that moment, brings you back into another horror moment, takes you out of that horror moment, brings you back into a magic moment where there's not a clear focus, in my opinion. They go from a scene where there's a brachiosaurus and he sneezes on Lex, and then you go to the part where they're trying to go look for Mr. Arnold, and Mr. Arnold is dead, and the raptors are trying to attack. Then you have a scene where the treehouse is, the car's falling down, and it just feels like it's kind of rushed a little bit. It's a little choppy and over-executed. I feel like the film, after the tree part, is overly executed. Steven Spielberg was trying to go so much for this horror style, where in a way, it doesn't work in my opinion. Now, don't get me wrong, I love these scenes, but you can tell it's a little bit rushed, especially in the raptor part where Gennaro, not his name, Muldoon, where he's getting murdered by the raptors. You can tell it's a little bit rushed. They even used the same scene where Laura Dern is jumping over the tree and swinging over the trees. They actually used the same shot twice, and that shows you that it's a little bit rushed towards the end, and it doesn't start picking up again, in my opinion, until we get to the museum part where the raptors are chasing the group. I feel like it's great, and one of the worst parts, in my opinion, in the film is when they're taking the Jeep with a wounded Ian Malcolm, and the T-Rex just comes out of nowhere. Now, it's a really cool scene, in my opinion, but does it really go anywhere? Not really. I mean, the Jeep was going back to the museum anyway, and they do go back to the museum. The T-Rex just comes out of nowhere. The music starts the whole action scene comes out of nowhere. And Laura Dern's yelling that she's just blurring the S word everywhere. And yeah, it's just, I feel like the spectacle, wonder, and the horror doesn't really mix in very well towards the end of the movie, where they, instead of having like scenes that go along very long, that like just have a long focus, like where it takes you from one scene to the next scene, I feel like some of these moments are just copied and pasted in there for spectacle or for horror. And once that scene is up, you just get thrown to another scene. Then once that scene's up, get thrown to another scene. So that, yeah, that's what I'm talking about with Jurassic Park. Jurassic Park is a flawed film. But it's not a bad film. I love Jurassic Park. But I was just ranting on some of the issues I had with the movie, just trying to clear up that the movie is not flawless. It is a very flawed film, and a lot of films are flawed. There are no flawless films. Well, there might be, but it's extremely rare. But Jurassic Park has a couple issues that I have with the movie. But the rest of the film is fantastic. I love the action, the acting. Richard Attenborough is fantastic as John Hammond. Ian Malcolm. I mean, come on, Dr. Grant. You can't go wrong with these characters. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Leave a like. What do you think of Jurassic Park? Do you agree with my ranting? Let me know down below. Comment down below. Subscribe to whatever the heck you want to do. And goodbye. Bye, everyone.